Allahu, 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 Allah, Allahu, 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 Allah.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, wa ashhadu anna sayyidina Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala sayyidina Muhammadin nabil ummi wa alihi wa sahbihi. Amma ba'd. Brothers and sisters, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today I was supposed to be talking about Taghyir al-Qibla, change of the Qibla from Jerusalem to Mecca, but I decided to change the topic following the broadcast of the biography of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on BBC 2. In the next two episodes, they are going to talk about the encounter or the Muslim-Jewish encounter in Medina, and I wanted to prepare you mentally and spiritually to know exactly what does the Quran say about this. We as Muslims believe that the Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not add or delete any verses from the Quran to reflect on anything he did which he didn't want people to know about it, for example. Okay, so if he would have done something wrong, Allah would have immediately reprimanded him, as it happened in Surah Al-Ahzab when he concealed that he is going to marry Zainab bint Jahsh, the wife of Zayd at that time, the one whom he adopted. So the Quran will always be there to say, yes, what you did is right, or no, you shouldn't have done it this way, you should have done it in a different way. So Muhammad ﷺ never added anything to the Quran to justify what he did. And the reason I'm saying this, because today you will see two things here which would contradict with the nature of any prophet. One in Surah Al-Hashr and one in Surah Al-Ahzab. Now, first the question, did the Jews of Medina know anything about Prophet Muhammad? Did they know there is a prophet? Were they aware of him? Yes, because there was a lot of trade between them and Quraysh. Quraysh used to travel and borrow from them or buy jewelry from them or whatever. In one occasion, Quraysh sent a messenger to Medina to confer with the Jews there, and they told them about Muhammad. Is he a prophet? Is he telling us the truth? So the Jews suggested that they go back and ask the Prophet three questions. And the three questions, if the answers are correct, then he is a real prophet. You should follow him. That's the Jews saying to Quraysh, should follow him. If not, then he is not. He's a liar. Do whatever you like with him. So what were the three questions? Number one, ask him about a group of young people who had a very strange affair or something very strange happened to them. Who were the people? Who were these people? Ahl al-Kahf, the young people who stayed in the cave for how long? 309 years. Ask him about a man who traveled the world from the east to the west, from the north to the south. Who was that man? Dhul Qarnayn, the man with the two horns or the two empires or the two direction, whatever. And ask him about ar-ruh. What is ar-ruh? The soul. Okay? Or it could be ar-ruh, referred to Jibreel as well. So the answer came, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلُ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي وَمَا أُوتِيتُ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. Say the ruh is from the affairs of Allah or the commands of Allah, and whatever knowledge you've been given is very small, very limited, very nothing compared to the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the delegation came back from Medina after talking to the Jews there and asked the Prophet ﷺ the questions, he said, tomorrow I give you the answer. وَلَمْ يَسْتَثْنَى, which he did not say inshallah. As a result, the wahi stopped for 15 days. He didn't come. And they used to taunt him. They used to go to him and say, come on, what happened? Where is the answer? You told us tomorrow. Now it's 15 days. And Surah Al-Kahf came with the story of the people of the cave and Dhul Qarnayn. And Surah Al-Isra came with the answer to the question, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ. They ask you concerning ar-ruh, which could be the soul or the spirit or Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, Prophet ﷺ did not say inshallah. So Allah told him off. He said, وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ. Don't ever say I'm going to do something tomorrow unless you say inshallah. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when he met the knowledgeable man and he wanted to accompany him to learn from him, the man said, you are not going to be patient. He said, سَتَجِدُنِي إِن شَاءَ اللَّهُ صَابِرًا. Inshallah, you will find me very patient. So Musa said, inshallah. When Bani Israel were asked to slaughter a heifer, a cow, they said, Inna insha'Allah la muhtadun. Insha'Allah, we will be guided. And in the interpretation it says, if they wouldn't have said inshallah, they would have never found this cow to sacrifice. Okay? So we must always say inshallah. But unfortunately, if you go to the Arab countries now, the Muslim countries, and inshallah becomes inshallah, it will never happen, may it never happen. So I used to work with a number of Europeans in Saudi Arabia, and they used to say, Dr. Fahim, please, don't say inshallah. I said, why not? Because inshallah here means it will never happen. Okay? Because they will ask them, tomorrow you finish this job. Inshallah, inshallah. Unfortunately. So, when the Prophet ﷺ arrived into Medina, he immigrated with Abu Bakr radiallahu anh from Mecca to Medina, and the people in Medina, there were two major tribes, Al-Aws and Al-Khazraj. Try to remember the names, they are important. Al-Aws and Al-Khazraj, two major tribes in Medina. They fought each other for hundreds of years, just killing each other and fighting with each other. But when Allah guided them to Islam, they became so united, and they became one hand, and they fell in love with each other, and they were really good Muslims, both of them, the two big tribes. One of them was the allies of Banu Qurayza, a Jewish tribe, and the other ones were the allies of Banu Nadir. Okay? So Banu Nadir, their allies were Al-Khazraj, and Banu Qurayza, their allies were Al-Aws. Muslims now are preparing to receive the Prophet ﷺ. They go out every day to watch his arrival into Medina. A Jew, according to Sahih Bukhari, a Jew came out and he saw something white in the desert, in the mirage, and he said, he shouted, this is the one you are waiting, Jaddakum, this is the one you are been waiting for. So they all came to receive the Prophet ﷺ, and when he settled, the delegations came to visit him, whether they were Muslims or hypocrites from among the Muslims or the Jews themselves. And one of the Jews who came was Abdullah ibn Salam radiallahu anhu arda. Abdullah ibn Salam was a learned man, what we call them, Rabbaniyina wa Ahbar, doctors of laws, rabbis. He was a good man, okay, from a good breed, from a good family. So he came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said to him, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. If you know the answer, then you are a prophet, and I will believe in you. What were the 3 questions? Number 1, listen very carefully. What is the first thing which will happen at the beginning of the hour? When the hour starts, what will be the first thing? He said, ما أول أشراط الساعة. What is the first thing which is going to happen to indicate the hour coming? Prophet ﷺ said, a fire coming from the east will take the people towards the west. Huge fire will engulf the people from the east towards the west. Where is the east to us? Maybe the east is Spain. Yes? Britain may be the east to America. You see, it's relative. Everything is relative. Okay? Second question, what is the first food the people of paradise, when they enter paradise, they will have? Biryani. No? Chapati. Kebabs, yes? They will have the cod liver oil. زيادة كبد الحوت. هذا الحديث is in Al-Bukhari. Okay? If anybody doesn't believe it, go back to Al-Bukhari and read it. Cod liver oil. Every morning I take a capsule of cod liver oil. Every morning. Since I heard this hadith. It's true. And I take 1,000 milligrams or units of vitamin C as well to increase my immunity. Alhamdulillah, very good. So on the day of judgment, when you enter paradise, all of us, inshallah, the angels will be standing there with a spoon, if you like it in liquid form, or they give you a capsule if you don't like the liquid form, and you crunch it, yeah? And the third question, a very scientific question now, who determines the sex of the baby? How the sex of the baby is going to be determined, a boy or a girl? The answer of the Prophet ﷺ is a miracle in itself, a miracle. A lot of Muslims don't even know how to interpret this hadith, unfortunately. You men have two types of sperms. Do you know that? Are you aware? How many people here are aware you carry an X sperm and a Y sperm, a female sperm and a male sperm? How many? Can I see a show of hands? But honestly, that's not bad. That's about 5% of the people here. Okay, fine. So each man has in his sperms an X sperm, a female sperm, and a male sperm, the Y. What is the egg of the woman, X or Y? X, only X. Prophet ﷺ is talking about race. سبق إذا سبق ماء الرجل ماء المرأة نزع الولد. Amazing. سبق, race. So he talks about race between the sperms, which is true. So the X sperm and the Y sperm are racing. The one which will get there first. If the Y gets there first, what will be? XY. What's an XY? A man, a boy. And if it is XX, a girl. So do not blame your wife for giving you a daughter every year. It's true. A lot of men, unfortunately, so ignorant. If you know we have now 9 girls. Next time, if you give me another girl, I'll divorce you. It's not her fault. It's your fault. And this is really a real problem among men. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, when he gave the answer, he said to Abdullah ibn Salam radiallahu anh, he said, Jibreel just came and told me. So before the questions were posed, Jibreel came and told him the answer, the 3 answers. He said, Jibreel is the enemy of the Jews. Because they take him as an enemy. Man kana aduwan lillahi wa malaikatihi. In the Quran tells us that yes, enemies to Jibreel wa Mikael. Okay, now immediately Abdullah ibn Salam embraced Islam. Immediately. He said, yes, you are a prophet. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah. Don't tell the Jews that I embraced Islam, but ask them about me. So Prophet looked at the Jews and said, what do you think of Abdullah? Said, oh, he is the best among us. He's the most honorable one. He's the most knowledgeable one. He's the most generous one. Do you know that he embraced Islam? What? He's the worst one. He's son of so-and-so, son of so-and-so. He said to them, came out and he said, didn't I tell you about them? Be aware of them. Be careful. Okay? Now, Safiya, one of the mothers of the believers, one of the wives of the Prophet. You know, all the wives of the Prophet ﷺ are known as Ummahatul Mu'mineen. They are our mothers. Whether Aisha or Khadija or Hafsa or Musala, whoever. So one of them was Safiya. Safiya was a Jew. And her father was a very respectable man. His name was Huyay ibn Akhtab al-Nadiri, from the tribe called Bani Nadir, who lived in Medina, and they were very strong, and they had their own fortresses and their own palm dates around them. They were very rich. He went, she in her story, in Sirat ibn Hisham, she says that I was so close to my father and my uncle Abi Yasir, very close. And they loved me so much. And it doesn't matter whatever they are doing, if they see me, they will cuddle me. You know, when you have a grandchild or a child and you carry that child, you kiss that child, you show a lot of love and affection to this child. She said, when the Prophet came, both of them went undercover to see the Prophet. When they came back, they were so upset to the extent they ignored me fully. As a child, she knew, ignored me. And I heard my uncle saying to my father, isn't he the man? Isn't he the right prophet? Are you going to believe in him? He said, no way. He is my enemy until I die. That was Huyay ibn Akhtab. Now, we move now to the treaty which the Prophet ﷺ compiled in Medina. A treaty between the Jews with different tribes. There were so many tribes of the Jews. The Muslims with all the tribes. Okay? Now we are going to live together. We are all going to give in South Woodford. Whether you are from Bangladesh or Pakistan or India or Egypt, wherever you are from, whether you are a Christian or a Jew, whatever, this treaty is going to protect us all. We are all responsible to defend Medina. We cannot support any of the idol worshippers if they come to us. We cannot harbor them. We cannot provide sanctuary for them. We cannot give them intelligence. If there is a war against us, we all fight together, and so on. You have the right to worship whatever you want to worship. You have the right to have your property. You are full protection to the Jews who lived in Medina. Full protection. Mutual defense. And they have protection of their lives and property. Freedom of worship. Mutual defense and protection. Safety and security of Medina. So Muslims and Jews will be united to defend Medina from any external invasion or attacks. A very comprehensive treaty. The majority of al-Mustashriqun, the Orientalists, regard it as one of the best treaties in the world. Until today, there is no such a treaty. Go on the internet and examine the treaty with all its points. Now, not far away from Al-Madinah, about 3 miles to the northeast, I think, there is a tribe called Banu Nadir who live there. And they've been there many, many years. Very rich, very powerful. And unfortunately, they betrayed the Prophet at the time of the Battle of Uhud. They refused to support the Muslims. They refused to provide arms. They refused to provide money. And not only that, they also allowed Abu Sufyan, who was at that time a mushrik, to come and stay with them. And they gave him intelligence regarding the points of weaknesses. And they allowed him to attack certain place in Medina and kill some people and ran away. When the Prophet ﷺ went to see them on a visit to discuss blood money for someone, they planned to drop a big stone on him to kill him. He was told and he left. So the command came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the Prophet should ask them to leave Medina peacefully. Just leave. Get out of here, please. Take your property and move. Leave your arms behind. So the head of the munafiqeen in Medina, Abdullah ibn Salul, you see, one is called ibn Salul, the other one is ibn Salam. One was a Jew, and that was an Arab who became a Muslim and did hide his hate to the Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims. So he sent them, he said, don't listen to Muhammad. I will send 2,000 of my men to stay inside your fortresses, and they will finish off Muhammad and his people. So they listened to Muhammad, they refused to go out. So now Muhammad ﷺ goes with his army and encircles them. And they don't want to come out. So Muhammad ﷺ decides to cut the trees. This is against Islam. This is against the teaching of any prophet. You cannot, when you fight a war, to cut the palm trees with all the fruits. You can't do that. You're not allowed to poison water or cut trees. If it was not in the Quran, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have said, no, it's a fabricated hadith. What's in the Quran? The hypocrite said, oh, Muhammad added it to cover up his fault. But it was actually a tactic, a war tactic. Because when he did that, they left, came out. Because they saw their own wealth being destroyed in front of their eyes. Prophet ﷺ allowed them to leave with all their property. They took 600 camels, filled it with food, property, everything, and left with their wives and their children peacefully. Nothing happened to them. That was the first encounter between the Muslim and the Jews in Medina. It was very peaceful. They could have applied a harsher punishment, but they did not. And it must be understood. And even they had the musicians were playing music behind them to show that we have nothing to worry about. You see, we are not feeling ashamed that we left. Now, who brought them out? Allah. Huwa alladhi. That's why in Surah Al-Hashr, chapter 59, when you go home tonight, please read the following chapter with your wives, and I'm going to read the verses very, very quickly. It is He who got out the unbelievers among the people of the book from their homes at the first gathering of the forces. Little did they think that they would get out. And they thought that their fortresses would defend them from Allah. So neither the Muslims nor the Jews thought they will ever be defeated. It's exactly what's happening now. Exactly. But the wrath of Allah came to them from quarters from which they little expected, and cast terror into their hearts, so that they destroyed their dwellings by their own hands and the hands of the believers. Take warning then, O you with eyes to see, and had it not been that Allah had decreed banishment for them, He would certainly have punished them in this world. And in the hereafter, they shall certainly have the punishment of the fire. That's because they resisted Allah and His Messenger. And if anyone resists Allah, verily Allah is severe in punishment. Whatever you cut down, O you Muslims, of the tender palm trees, or you left them standing on the roots, it was by order or command of Allah, and in order that he might cover with shame the rebellious transgressors. Very quickly, let me read the footnotes, because I must move now to Ghazwat Bani Qurayza, Surah Al-Ahzab. So very quickly, this refers to the Jewish tribe of the Banu Nadir, whose intrigues and treachery nearly undid the Muslim cause during the previous days of the Battle of Uhud in Shawwal. The Muslims were defeated in the Battle of Uhud. So, 4 months after, in Rabi' al-Awwal, the 4th year of Hijrah, steps were taken against them. They were asked to leave the strategic position which they occupied about 3 miles south of Medina, endangering the very existence of the Ummah in Medina. At first they demurred, relying on their fortresses and on their secret alliance with the pagans of Mecca and the hypocrites of Medina. But when the Muslim army was gathered to punish them and actually besieged them for some days, their allies stirred not a finger in their aid, and they were wise enough to leave. Most of them joined their brethren in Syria, which they were permitted to do after being disarmed. Some of them joined their brethren in Khaybar. It's about 90 kilometers to the north of Medina. The Banu Nadir richly deserved punishment, but their lives were spared, and they were allowed to carry away their goods and chattels. I'm going now to go very quickly into the second one, which is going to be a concern in the program. Could you please move forward, please? There are people, just move, physically move forward. There was a tribe, another tribe in Medina known as Banu Qurayza. The leader was Ka'b ibn Asad. Now, Huyay ibn Akhtab, the father of Safiya, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, he was from among the people of Bani Nadir who immigrated, who had to leave. So he stated from the beginning that Muhammad is his enemy. He will take him as an enemy all his life until he dies. So what he did, he went to Quraysh and he told the Quraysh, fighting Muhammad is a just cause and uprooting him is essential because your religion is better than his and your traditions are better than his teachings. Can you imagine a man from the people of the book telling Quraysh that are worshipping idols and doing this and that's better than what Muhammad ﷺ is teaching them? So a revelation came condemning him immediately. So he did not, Quraysh agreed with him that they will all come to fight Muhammad ﷺ. And he went to all the tribes in the desert, in the Arabian Peninsula. The Arabs, they are known as Al-A'rab, the desert Arabs. Those who are nomads. You know, the people who keep going from one place to the other with their cattle, etc. So they all agreed to fight Muhammad. This is very well-known battle. It's called the Ghazwat al-Ahzab, the Confederates or the Allies battle, and also has another name, the Ditch al-Khandaq. So when the news came to the Prophet ﷺ, he gathered his companions, and Salman al-Faris suggested that we are going to dig a trench from this side to protect Medina. It's protected from that side by the mountains, and from here by the trench will provide protection to us. So what happened? When the forces came, they realized, oh my goodness, Medina is very well protected now. What are we going to do? So they stayed for a while. It was a very hard time for the Muslims. It was very cold time in the year. Very difficult for the Muslims. Now, Medina, inside there was no protection at all. There was only men and children in Medina. And now we have the tribe of Bani Qurayza. Okay? So they decided, the allies, to leave, to go back. Because the desert Arabs, they felt, the Bedouin, they felt, we are not used to sitting in one place for a longer time. Goodbye. So Huyay ibn Akhtab went to them and said, look, I am willing to convince my brethren, Banu Qurayza, to tear the agreement with Muhammad. So Medina will not be protected from that side. So he went to them, met Ka'b ibn Asad. He convinced him. Ka'b at the beginning, he refused, according to Sirat ibn Hisham. He said, no, I cannot betray Muhammad. Muhammad is honest. I cannot betray. He said, you have to. Eventually, they agreed to betray the Muslims. And the agreement was completely torn. Okay? News came to the Prophet ﷺ. He sent two forces, one led by, 100 men, 200 led by one man, and 300 by another one. 500 people in Medina to protect Medina and to do takbir all the time to show the Jews of Bani Qurayza that the Muslims are still in charge. Okay? Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a wind, storm, and the unbelievers, the idol worshippers, left and disappeared, and the angels they took part in the battle as well. They all went back wherever they came from. Prophet ﷺ returned to his house, about to take off his shield and his armor. Jibril came and said, Muhammad, Allah commands you to go now to Bani Qurayza. So he went to Bani Qurayza and encircled them. Their leader offered them three things. Now let me mention the three things. He said to them, my people, we've been encircled by Muhammad and his troops, his army. We know he's the right prophet. We know his message is correct. Let's all believe in him and save our lives. They said, no, we will stick to At-Tawrah. Okay, let's kill our own children and our own women and go out and fight him, so that if he kills us, we have nothing to worry about behind us. If we kill him, then we will take his women and children as captives of war. They said, no. What is the meaning of life without our children and our wives? He said, okay, today is the Sabbath. It was Friday night. Muhammad has given us security in the Sabbath. So let's go out and by surprise take him and fight him. They said, no, it's our Sabbath. We are here to enjoy ourselves. He said, you are people who have no say in the matter. You are useless, all of you. Now, they appointed Sa'd ibn Mu'adh from Al-Aws, the leader of Al-Aws, to act on their behalf, to mediate on their behalf with the Prophet ﷺ. The story is mentioned in two verses in chapter 33, verse 26 and verse 27 only. Now, Sa'd said to the Jews, because he was their ally, his tribe, Al-Aws, was the ally of Banu Qurayza. Would you accept my judgment? They said, yes. He turned to the Prophet ﷺ. Would you accept my judgment? He said, yes. Okay, I judged that all the men will be killed, 600 to 700. It will be raised in the program. And the children and the women will be saved, and all their property, that they will be sold as prisoners of war or whatever, slaves, and the property will be confiscated. Now, if I am a prophet of mercy, I am fighting a battle, I am on the battlefield, and my enemies surrender. They take off their white vests and they put their hands. Should I kill them? No, not allowed. Why did Muhammad kill them if they have surrendered? Did Muhammad ﷺ add this verse to the Quran to justify that he killed them? It's from Allah. Now let's look into the reason why they were killed. Sa'd ibn Mu'adh applied the Jewish law on them. He said, you are Jew. You see, we are Muslims. We apply our Sharia law for inheritance, for marriage, for divorce. Yes? You don't apply English law when you distribute your inheritance or when you do your divorce, do we? We don't. The same within the Jew. Sa'd ibn Mu'adh said, I apply your Torah. I apply your law. You know what he did? In the Jewish law, there is one for the, if you are afraid that your religion will be corrupt by the people who live within your village or community, you have to kill the men, the women, and the children and take everything. And if this village, let's say in Loughton, not South Woodford, far from you, and they can corrupt your religion, you kill only the men, but you save the women and the children. So Sa'd ibn Mu'adh applied. So I know I'm keeping you, but it's very important. Just give me 3 minutes, please. The reference is to the Jewish tribe of Banu Qurayza. They counted among the citizens of Medina and were bound by solemn engagement to help in the defense of the city. But on the occasion of the Confederate siege by the Quraysh and their allies, they intrigued with the enemies and treacherously aided them. Immediately after the siege was raised and the Confederates had fled in hot haste, the Prophet turned his attention to these treacherous friends who had betrayed the city in the hour of danger. The Banu Qurayza were filled with terror and dismay when Medina was free from the Quraysh danger, they shut themselves up in their castles about 3 or 4 miles to the east or northeast of Medina and sustained a siege of 25 days, after which they surrendered, stipulating that they would abide by the decision of their fate at the hands of Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, the chief of Al-Aws, with which they had been in alliance. Sa'd applied to them the Jewish law of the Old Testament, not as strictly as the case warranted. In Deuteronomy, remember this, in Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 10 to 18, the treatment of a city which is very far off from you is prescribed to be comparatively more lenient than the treatment of a city of those people which the Lord your God does give thee for an inheritance, i.e., which is near enough to corrupt the religion of the Jewish people. The punishment for this is total annihilation. You shall save alive nothing that breathes. Deuteronomy 20, verse 16. The more lenient treatment for far-off cities is described in the next note. According to the Jewish standard, then the Banu Qurayza deserved total extermination of men, women, and children. They were in the territory of Medina itself, and further they had broken their engagements and helped the enemy. Sa'd adjudged them the milder treatment of the far-off cities, which is thus described in the Jewish law. You shall smite every male thereof with the edge of the sword, but the women and the little ones and the cattle and all that is in the city, even all the spoil thereof, shall you take unto yourself. And you shall eat the spoil of thine enemies, which the Lord your God has given thee. This Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 13 and 14. The men of the Qurayza were slain, the women were sold as captives of war, and their lands and properties were divided among the Muhajirin. Can we have the collection, please? And while we are having the collection, I'm going to read the 2 verses. وأنزل الذين ظاهروهم من أهل الكتاب من صياصيهم وقذف في قلوبهم الرعب فريقا تقتلون وتأسرون فريقا وأورثكم أرضهم وديارهم وأموالهم وأرضا لم تطئوها وكان الله على كل شيء قديرا. These are verses 26 and 27, chapter 33. And those of the people of the book who aided them, Allah did take them down from their strongholds and cast terror into their hearts, so that some you slew and some you made captives. And He made you heirs of their lands, their houses, and their goods, and of a land which you had not frequented before, and Allah has power over all things. And this refers to another battle, which is Khaybar, the battle of Khaybar. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم.